Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with the nitrogen lab test. Remember, we're supposed to follow the yellow flags, and we're in zone D. Could you record that on yours so that we make sure we have it for later to know what zone we're actually taking the test?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go through each and every step of the test, and we're going to make sure that we know exactly what we're expected to do on the nitrogen test. First thing we're going to need to do is place our clipboard right here so that we can see the directions, and we're going to move the leaf litter. Okay, step 1 suggests that we grab a test tube and the nitrogen extracting solution. So there's the nitrogen extracting solution, and here is the test tube, and we're filling it up to the 7th line. Notice it's graduated test tube, and we're going to gently squeeze.
Yeah, don't squeeze too hard, but you can kind of get closer to 7 and then slow down.
And remember, we want to look for the, quote, smiley face, or the scientific name is known as?
Meniscus.
Right,
Oops.
and we want to look at it to be exactly at the 7th line.
I poured a little bit over, so we have to pour some back.
Ooh, too much. Let's try a little
Yep,
more.
let's screw the cap back on. Sometimes this happens where you go over. Don't be afraid to get it back to normal.
Okay, and if you look at it at eye level, we're exactly at 7. Step 2 suggests that we use our spoon, which is 0.5 grams, and we need 2 measures of soil sample.
When you scoop, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can use your other glove and scoop some off the top. Try not to press too hard or it won't come out.
Now, Matt, I just remember we forgot to put observations in this one.
Correct.
So when we looked at the liquid, it was basically what?
It was clear.
So we need to record that on number 1. And then step 2, if we take a look at the liquid now, what does it look like?
A little bit cloudy.
And do you notice the little bubbles are appearing from the soil?
Yeah, let's take a look from behind our other clipboard. So for our first observation, we would write down that the solution was clear. And then step 2, after adding the soil, we can put that the solution turned a little bit cloudy and small bubbles started to form.
Excellent. Now we're going to go to step 3. In step 3, we need to get the cap and gently mix for 1 minute. Do you want to get your stopwatch ready?
Sure.
All right.
Ready,
you tell me.
Set, timer.
So we gently mix this for a minute. Notice that I'm not shaking it really hard. I'm just using what we would say, a seesaw method. Just gently going up and down, up and down.
3, 2, 1, stop, and you can reset your stopwatch for next time.
All right, let's record that what we see as being very cloudy, muddy.
Okay. Cloudy and muddy.
Okay, in step 4, we're going to remove the cap and allow it to settle.
How long?
I would say at least about 30 seconds or so. Notice it might take a little longer, but the key idea is that the water at the top, or the liquid portion, should be settling at the top, and the actual soil particles are settling at the bottom. Once it looks like it's completely separated from the two medias, we're going to go ahead and record that down on step 4. If you notice, it still looks pretty cloudy, but not as muddy as it was before, and the soil is down at the bottom. In step 5, I'm going to read the directions before we get started. We're going to use a clean black lid pipette to transfer the clear liquid to the second test tube. To avoid agitation of the soil, we have to squeeze the bulb from the pipette before inserting it into the liquid. So we squeeze the pipette bulb, we set it into the test tube, and we release the bulb slowly. Notice I'm not trying to get to the bottom of the soil. And we slowly release it, and some of the water and mixture, and we transfer it to the next one. We need to be at line 3. So I'm going to again squeeze the top before I go in, set it in, but not too close to the soil part. Let it soak in. It sucks it up. And
How high are we going?
to the 3rd line.
Okay, we're at 1.5. Those
Again,
are milliliters. 1.5 milliliters.
Again, remember, I'm squeezing first, dipping into the water, and then squeezing it into the other one. We're not quite there. It's almost to the 3rd line, which is 3
Just
milliliters.
a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
We're going to add a few more.
That looks good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
What do we notice about this particular liquid?
It's a lot more clear. And it looks rusty colored.
Okay, I'll record that for us since you're holding it. Okay, now we're going to step 6. We've already measured 3 milliliters of the solution of the soil. It extracted out the nitrogen. Now we need to know if there's really how much nitrogen is actually in there. So we're going to take from our adult liter, we're going to open up our container, and we're going to open up the nitrogen indicator. You have to be very careful because it's powder. And we are going to scoop 1 scoop of the nitrogen indicator, and you want to go ahead and put the lid on the nitrogen indicator so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and I'm going to have you hold the actual test tube. And I'm going to add the nitrogen indicator to the test tube. Notice I went inside the test tube, which is easier so it doesn't fly anywhere. And then we're going to go to step 7. But before we do, notice how the color is starting to get cloudy. Okay, we're going to record that in our section. Notice it's cloudy, a little pinkish. And next we're going to move to step 7, where we're going to add a cap.
I'll write down what happened in our observations.
Thank you. And I'm adding the cap, and I'm going to gently mix this, and we're going to wait about 5 minutes.
Three, 2, 1, 5 minutes.
Well, we can record that there's, as you can see, it's settled at the bottom is the white powder, and at the top is the actual color.
When you stop mixing it, all the silt and the solution settle to the bottom.
And if you take a look at the color, it has a slight pink to it, so there must be a slight pink of nitrogen. So we're going to circle it and record on our chart trace.